strong in faith.
Faith can move mountains. Radio Maria, 91.3 FM.
The voice of truth.
Hello, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining in and staying tuned to Radio Maria 91.3 FM. The time is 1:04 on the clock. It's officially lunch break, and for some of us, it's time for us to take a breather, take a stretch, take your eyes away from the computer, eat good food. Well, snack on good snacks if you have that healthy snacks, and also join in some good banter. And that is why today I have miraculously dragged Father John to join me on this episode of Lunch Break. Hello, Father. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Why did you say miraculous?
Father, like, you shall know. Let me not put you
like I am some mountain that you needed to apply.
Father, should we tell them since when? Since when? Like, you have been a busy person. You are too busy for us.
Okay, so but the way you're putting it looks like you have to travel all the way to heaven to bring me down to earth.
See, technically, I've paid a couple of monies here and there, like how Nigerians are now paying 1,500 naira to withdraw 5,000 K, but figuratively, but it's nice. It's nice to have you join us. And the conversation really is something that I think Father might give us a better perspective on. I mean, we all have our ideas on certain things, and we all have our first impressions when we hear certain stories, but also there's such a thing as a better informed person giving you a better, holistic view. Father?
Well, just say a different view. I just hope that...
Father is trying to be humble. No, but Father, at the end of the day, who better to have this conversation? If you're a Catholic or just a Christian or a Nigerian, I'm sure you have come across this particular story on Linda Ikeji blog. And the story literally says, persons with homosexual tendencies are children of God and should be welcomed by their churches. Quote, Pope Francis. Now, that particular story, that's the headline, right? And then there are details, and it says, the Roman Catholic Church leader, Pope Francis, and the leaders of Protestant churches in England and Scotland have denounced the criminalization of homosexuality, saying those with homosexual tendencies should be welcomed by their churches. As you would expect, there are a lot of divergent views about this particular story, and for some people it's almost like, wait, is the church endorsing this? Is the church saying it's okay? Is it welcome? And also bear in mind that in recent times there have also been conversations about allowing them to even get married in the church. Big conversation. But then having the Pope says this, it's almost like, wait, where are we? What does that mean? Father, help us understand it better.
Yeah, just short of saying there is uproar over the Pope's statements, right?
But then also there are people who appear to get it.
Our first thing is that people should first of all understand what the Pope has said and what the Pope has not said.
Yeah. And
it's very important because I think Pope Francis has got the, I won't say ill-luck of the press always trying to put him out of context. And a blog like Linda Ikeji's, I'm sure is one of those that anything sensational is what they binge on,
yeah.
And it's understandable. So what the Pope says, from what you read, is that the Pope is against the criminalization of gay practices. In other words, the Pope is saying, don't call those who have gay tendencies criminals, right? Because you know what happens to criminals, right? Criminals are supposed to be
put in the prison.
Yes, behind bars. Criminals are supposed to be condemned.
True.
People who
serve some sort of punishment.
Yeah, completely separated from this. So, you could say criminality is a law against the state, while sin is breaking God's law. Or criminality is breaking law of the state, while sin is breaking the law of God.
But then there are certain criminal acts that are still sin against God, isn't it?
Yes, in all yes, there are some certain criminal acts that are sins against God. Definitely, I do agree to that. So I'm trying to now give understanding of what the Pope is actually saying. The Pope is speaking as a Pope, as a spiritual father.
Yeah.
All right, and the mercy of God is endless. Now that does not mean that the Pope is endorsing homosexual or gay union. He's not endorsing that. The Catholic Church has a definite stand on that. Not even a Pope changes the doctrine of the Catholic Church. That's one of the beauties of the Catholic Church. Okay, popes will come and go. He can't tamper with the doctrine of the Church as in, by virtue of being a Pope. If anything has to change in the Catholic Church, it is not one man's decision. So let's get what the Pope isn't saying. The Pope isn't endorsing homosexual union. He isn't also saying it's a nice thing or a right thing to do. The Pope is rather focusing on the sinner. Okay, he's focusing on the sinner. In other words, when you criminalize this, the Pope is reading his mind, pastoral mind, is that you have now removed every opportunity for them to even know or to receive any spiritual or pastoral help that might bring them to conversion. Criminals don't stay with normal people. They are put behind bars, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So if you criminalize this, so immediately the person is already condemned and removed. So from what the Pope is saying, it's more like don't condemn the sinner, condemn the sin, and then offer the sinner some opportunities and some help to get the person come out of there. Because all of us are sinners, right?
True.
The Bible says, for all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God, and all are made righteous. So
it gets tricky, Father. Let me interject very quickly. Now, you have to also understand that for a lot of people who patronize in the KG blog, they are Nigerians, and they would be looking at this and receiving and interpreting this story or this statement by the Pope from a Nigerian lens. And in Nigeria, this particular act appears to be, not even appears, is criminalized. Yes. So when you, again, I think for a lot of people, it's finding a balance between what the Pope is saying as a spiritual leader, and of course also from a cultural context of being Nigerian and seeing these as a criminal act. I mean, 14 years is literally attached to the punishment. And it then comes back to where does a Nigerian Catholic stand when it comes to this particular topic? Because we have criminalized it. According to our law, it's a crime, and you would be in prison for 14 years if you're found guilty.
Yeah.
But also, as a person of faith, you're having your spiritual father say, perhaps this is not the way to go about it. So where do we? So
it's still everybody must know that it is the Pope's opinion or perspective. If you want to call it informed perspective on this particular issue. So now the Pope's statement does not nullify the Nigerian law.
True.
It doesn't nullify the Nigerian law. The Nigerian law still stands, and of course, in other countries where such laws have been passed too, But what the Pope is saying is that what we should take from what the Pope is saying, that there are sinners like us, and they deserve the opportunity for conversion or for the grace of turnaround, and so we must not forget that. So even in a place like Nigeria where it is criminal, if you have such people who are in prison because of such acts, from the Pope's statement, what it means is that the church must reach out to them, and they must never be seen. I mean, if the state sees them as criminals, the church should not see them as criminals. The church should see them as sinners who also have the potentiality to become saints tomorrow.
Okay, I think that actually answers a lot of questions, because it's about finding a balance and also being respectful of the laws that guide us. Now, I'm going to take some comments from the comment section, and then I'll hear your thoughts on them. These ones are a bit very intense. The first one says, on one hand, we're being told that homosexuality is not something that you decide to do. People wake up one day and realize that they are very much struggling with their sexuality. On the other hand, people have said this should be seen as even a mental health issue. How then does the church decide to call them sinners and tag it as a sin? Father, your thoughts on this particular comment?
Well, so many people are actually ignorant of the details, those details and those intricacies in the issue. There are medical angles to this. There are biological angles to this. Okay, sometimes nature takes a turn that is beyond comprehension. For instance, there are people who are born hermaphrodites, like they have the two reproductive organs. There are people who are born and there is no clear distinction between their sex, whether they are male or female. Is natural, is biological. So there is the biological or medical dimension to it, which if you don't know, you might be reducing a biological issue to a moral issue and to a spiritual issue. So those details have to be, carefully sifted. That's why you cannot use one law for everyone, so particular cases must be taken. For me, the people I will have actual issues with are those who become gay or homosexual by what you call maybe orientation. Maybe because they have seen that it's permissible somewhere and all that, and because you are attracted to a fellow man or a fellow woman, you just follow it, straight like that. It's for me that those are the ones we should even be concerned about. But what about those who have tried? Okay, personally as a priest, a young man had come to me with this issue, and he swore heaven and earth, even I wouldn't let him see. He said, "Father, I have fasted. Like I have fasted a number of times. I have done deliverance. I have gone to see men of God for prayer, for counseling, to take my mind, my desire off my fellow man. It's not working. I have tried to consciously cultivate a desire for the opposite sex. It's not working." He came to me. That could be disarming. I mean, that could make you even helpless.
Yes.
Well, I wasn't. As a priest, I wasn't. And in my mind, I'm like, so what else am I supposed to do? Because he came out of frustration that he's done everything he required of him, yes, to change this strange desire and orientation. And it doesn't seem to be working. So it's for that kind of person, when you now say he's a criminal, maybe if he falls once or twice and stuff like that, say he's a criminal, you have not done justice to the struggles that young man has gone through and all of that. So every person has to be listened to, and you have to know those who are genuinely biologically bent on this. I'm sure their own care will be a little bit more different than those who just want to explore.
You're definitely taking the conversation to, I think, the most important part of it, which is, as people of faith or just as human beings, how do we accommodate or how do we handle such issues? Now, bearing in mind that, from an African Nigerian disposition, we are already sort of socialized to perceive this as very strange. And it is, if you think about it, from a holistic point of view. Even the Europeans, they fought for a while to get to a place where they are comfortable with it. And it's not to say that people who are homosexual still do not go through some level of discrimination, even in places where it's acceptable. So you bring it down to us here. How do you provide help? How do you provide comfort? Say you come in contact with someone like this, or a child meets you as the auntie in the compound and says, "This is what I'm struggling with." How really do we provide help without doing too much or making it worse?
So, though it's a criminal offense in Nigeria, but I could as well tell you that criminalizing it does not solve it. What criminalization will make is to drive them to go clandestine. And homosexual tendency has been there if we say in Nigeria, tete.
Yeah, I think there's a whole historical.
Yes, it's been there for, that's why even the Bible condemns it. So if it wasn't existing, then the Bible wouldn't, to condemn it. So criminalizing it wouldn't, it's like, there are places where adultery is criminal, but it hasn't stopped people committing adultery and all that. So I'm not sure criminalizing is actually going to solve anything. The only thing to do is that it will make those who are very scared, from showing it, expressing it up. So what I think we need to do in Nigeria is to see it as it is. It is a problem, and some people are trying to confront it in a very genuine way. We should offer them. There are those that are medical, like I said, they should get medical attention, because at the end of it all, what nature has distinguished as male and female, is very clear. It's very clear, even though, like I said, there is that rare or that minor group that may have this unresolved issue. So it could be medical, it could be psychological, it could be spiritual. So anybody who finds himself or herself in those situations should make sure he or she has gone through all of those levels. I'm sure the person might find some respite, So for me, for Nigerians, everything is not black or white.
Yeah, there are gray areas.
Okay, there are gray areas, yes. So I would never. So two things I think shouldn't happen. Don't legalize it and don't criminalize it.
That's an interesting stance.
Yes, that's actually my problem with the Western world, because that legalization now makes some people to copy the habit that ordinarily they would not have copied.
So it's almost like you're normalizing it, and then becomes something of curiosity.
Yes, some people just want to try, and listen, they don't even tell us the frustration that many people take transgender, for example.
You know what, Father, we'll go on a very tiny break, and then when we come back, we'll talk on that. We've got maybe 10 more minutes to go, so if you want to call in and just drop a few seconds words of contribution, ask a question or two, the number to call is 081-084-47518, but that will be after this short break. We'll be right back. Thank you very much for staying tuned to Radio Maria 91.3 FM. Yours truly, Ashashi, is in the studio, and if you're just joining in, we've got Father John in the studio as well. Whoop, 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 Father. See, during the break, let me just say it now. Father was asking us how much are we paying him for this analysis. Just to tell you that I sweated before Father came on this air.
That's blackmail. I'm the cheapest guy on earth.
Oh yeah, that's what they all say until it's time to pay. But really, it's been a wonderful time. Father has been sharing with us his perspective and just enlightening us more on this whole conversation about the church and homosexuality. The Pope's statement saying, "Listen, hate the sin, but not the sinner," and of course the reactions that have followed suit. And the conversation really touched on the different dimensions to this particular topic. We're talking morality, biology, you said another one. Spirituality.
Maybe.
Yes.
Orientation, culture. Society,
yes.
That,
And before the break, you were touching on another thing that I believe is very much, again, very connected to this conversation. Because in itself, when you think about transgender, it's again has to do with sexuality, a confusion that exists for people when it comes to seeing themselves in the gender that they were born into and they are supposed to be socialized into naturally. And we are now again brought back to the confusion that exists as to, does God make mistakes?
Okay, girl, you are not just going to take me on a roller coaster. Listen, you're supposed to just put a faithful to your listen, because
no, but it's the same topic.
If we go to that topic, we can't exhaust it.
We're going to bring you back, but listen, think about it. You spoke about the gentleman
so
who was confused.
I was just going to
I was
going to use the transgender thing as an illustration.
But it's still connected, Father.
Yeah.
Help us understand.
So, but I haven't met that illustration, and you are looking for something.
five things that are on the spot.
There are some people that have transgendered, right?
Yes.
And they regretted it.
Very true.
And they said if they knew, in fact, some are even angry with the people around them, you should have stopped me from doing this.
But Farah, it doesn't take away the fact that there are people who genuinely find themselves in a space of confusion and they feel like they should be something
So
else.
for those, there are those who actually are confused. But that's why I said I wouldn't go for legalization. When you agitate for something, make it look like it's a human right. You are communicating a message. People want to explore options that are available. And then some people become confused. You know, in some Western countries, we are told that parents are told not to tell their children that they are either boy or girl. But you get back to this guy. As a boy, he's got the male genitalia and all that the girl has got. And you say, don't tell him or her that she's a boy or girl until he grows. Those where the confusions are coming from. Some confusions are avoidable, created by the culture of the time. So you are in a postmodern culture that just accepts everything, moral relativism, do what you want, whatever makes you happy, which is the most stupid statement on earth. You cannot do whatever makes you happy.
Because sometimes whatever makes you happy might be destroying another person.
No, man, there is even nothing like whatever makes you happy. Most people who have done whatever makes them happy have come to a place of disillusionment and regret, because that thing you thought was making you happy was only an excitant. You were just getting excited. It's like getting hit on drugs because it makes you happy, but it doesn't really make you happy. It only makes you high for a moment, and after that you come back to reality. So some of these people get confused because of the confusing messages they are
It's
getting.
almost like we are living in a world that not only normalizes these things, it glamorizes it.
Yes.
So it sort of piques your curiosity.
Exactly. Some people just have found themselves in that thing out of curiosity. That's why government regulation is important for what goes out there, you know, on air or on the internet and all that. So countries have to find a balance between freedom and responsibility, or between freedom and restriction. I think there's a difference between freedom and licentiousness. Okay, licentiousness is do whatever you want. Okay. Whatever makes you happy, you do.
Because freedom in itself is, you know, knowing right, knowing wrong.
Yeah.
And
freedom comes with responsibility.
It does.
Yes.
It does. That's interesting.
I mean, there are people who would see that stealing is makes them happy. So they are free to go there.
No, you can't carry another person's sin, though. If you carry it, you enter prison. But also, I think that is such an important conversation in itself for a completely different time, because you think about it and it's like, okay, you're saying that I should no longer be addressed as he or her. I should be addressed as they, right? And it's like, for a lot of normal people, that is new, that is strange. And then you pick offense. You know, so again, we go back to perhaps don't legalize it and don't criminalize it.
Yeah, don't legalize it, don't criminalize it. It's not a human right. I think that's where the American, under Obama, that's what he forgot. You know, they wanted to make it a human right in Nigeria. It's not a human right. The law that protects you from being lynched by anybody who feels that you have done something wrong, the same law that protects a gay person who because I think part of the reason why they legalize it is so that people don't lynch them or do anything. That's part of the problem. We don't understand what people go through.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Yeah, for some of us, you just can't understand why would a girl prefer another girl to a man, or a man prefer another man to this, you know? So there are also cultural issues there. For instance, there are places where people marry their first cousins or their closest, and it's absolutely normal for them. Yes. But the place where we come from is strange, you know. So sometimes you get to widen your mind about certain realities and all of that. Just when you understand first, you see that your approach will change, you know. And I think that's what the Pope is calling for, that understanding that will make our approach to the problem more Christ-like, you know, more helpful than just sledge of the hammer.
So it's basically, long story short, let's extend grace to people and things that we don't understand.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Father, for joining in. And with that being said, Father is already charging me at least £20,000 per minute. And if you really think about it, if you sell all our things, Father, you know, like you said it, but it's the way that you were saying it during the break.
Let me reduce it to just £100.
You see, and now if they
£100 is payable.
Hey, Father, if you shake me, if you not see anything, though, there is no money in the bank. Bank have shut down.
Actually, only your hair can pay for that thing. Let's just call this here and go and sell and see if we not raise that money.
Wahala. Well, the good thing is we don't have to pay, and it's really, really wonderful having you join us. And we hope that we have you again. I'm putting you on the spot by saying, Father, promise us that you'll be coming more often.
Who am I promising?
Us. Me and the remaining people. I
am not Herod. I'm going to promise and I called John the Baptist to do that.
But me, I can promise you, Busha, that I will be disturbing for that to come more on air. And that's because I think more often than not, we actually need to hear from people that we trust to give us the right information. People we trust, have our best interests at heart as far as being better human beings are concerned. So, Father, just get used to us, disturbing you here and now.
No problem. Thank you, listeners. Just keep listening. Be addicted to Radio Maria. That's the best addiction in the world.
Oh, wow. Look at that. No Father giving us like free promotion. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for staying tuned. And thank you, Father, for joining us for this very wonderful, enlightening conversation. We go back to some really, really good music. And I hope that you're keeping yourself safe out there. If you're on the fuel queue, if you're on ATM queue, whatever the queue is, please, let's be responsible, let's be kind to each other, and let's keep this place as sane as possible. Don't touch that dial.